Hi, you guys. So I was challenged a few months ago to write my own personal Bill of Rights. And so I am doing that today with you. So I have the right to ask for what I want. And if you don't ask, you don't ever know the answer. So you'll be told 100 times no for every question you don't ask, right? I have the right to say no to requests or demands I cannot meet. I think that's so hard, especially as a woman. We feel like it's our responsibility to do all that we can do, but sometimes we do need to learn to say no. Sometimes we need to learn where our boundaries are and what state of mind we're in or what it is that we are able and capable of doing and still maintain our sanity. I have the right to express my feelings. And while I do believe I have that right, I also have to recognize that sometimes there are consequences for those expressions. And so if I'm not prepared or ready for those consequences, I've also learned that I have the right to bite my tongue. I have the right to change my mind. I mean, I'm a girl, right? So changing minds are something we do. But we have a right to rethink things and say, you know what? That felt right then, but right now that doesn't feel so right anymore. Or if we relook at situations and realize that it's not what's best for whether it's just ourselves or for our family, we have that right to change our minds. I have the right to make mistakes and not be perfect. And that's a big one. I have that right to mess up because I'm human, but I also have that right to recognize that that's the case for others as well and to give them that opportunity and room to change and to grow. Just because someone made a mistake 5 years ago doesn't mean that that mistake has to stay with them. I don't need to define them by their mistakes, just like I don't want people defining me by mine. I have the right to follow my own values and standards, and my values and standards may be different from others. Sorry, I feel like I have a hair sticking up somewhere. And that's okay. I respect theirs. They respect mine. Hopefully, I was very fortunate to grow up in a place where people were very respectful of my values and standards. And so instead of inviting me to parties where there would be things going on that would make me uncomfortable, they just didn't invite me. And so I'm grateful for that. I have the right to determine my own priorities. So this is a hard one because I think others often think they know best and think they know what other people should or shouldn't be doing or are capable of doing. And so years ago, an example of this was we have a family member that likes to say, well, they have the money to do this and that. Well, we might, but our priorities might be different than that. And a priority my husband and I have had for years is to have a date night. And so that for a time was our priority. And now our kids are older, and so we have date days. It doesn't have to be in the evenings, but that is a priority. And we all have a right to make and figure out our priorities. And what works for one family may not always work and look the same for another. I have the right to not be responsible for others' behavior, actions, feelings, or problems. And I don't know about you guys, but I often feel like, specifically with my spouse and children, I feel like I sometimes have to make up for them. If I feel like they've not done enough or not done something that I would have wanted them to do, I feel like I have to make up for it. And that's not the case. I learned kind of, not the hard way, but I learned a few years ago that they have their choices and I have mine. I'm responsible for my choices. And I think we all too often worry that other people's choices or mistakes reflect on us, and they don't. If people do make it a reflection of us in a way that isn't ours, then that's on them, not on us. I have the right to expect honesty from others. Oh my gosh, that's such a big one for me. I do expect honesty from others, and especially in regards to me and how they either talk about me or represent me. I would hope people are honest, and there are those people out there that want to, I'm not sure how to word this, who want to make themselves sound better by putting someone else down. And I'm not about that. That's not okay. And I expect honesty, but I also feel like I give honesty. And so I do expect honesty, and I have a right to expect that from those around me, and I hope you do too. I have the right to be my authentic, unique self. And we are all individuals. I mean, I'm sure you've grown up and been compared to this person or that person. And in a lot of ways, I'm like my mom. In a lot of ways, I'm like my dad. But at the end of the day, I'm me. I have the right to not give excuses or reasons for my choices. And that's another hard one, because sometimes people think that they're owed that and they aren't. Sometimes those reasons aren't their business. I have the right to make decisions based on my feelings. And sometimes we, as especially moms, we have to go with our gut. And we know what's best for our kids. We know what's best for ourselves. We know what's best for our families. And while it might not be something everybody else agrees with, we have that right to make those decisions, especially in regards to our feelings. If just something doesn't feel right, I say always stick to that. I have the right to make friends and be comfortable around people. I was reading an article years ago where it said, don't push your kids to hug someone they're not comfortable hugging. And I am a hugger. And so that threw me for a little bit, but I've come to find that that is so important that so my husband's not much of a hugger. And whenever we leave things with his family, if he didn't give his mom or dad a hug goodbye, it bugged me. I'm like, why wouldn't you hug your mom and dad goodbye? But that's just him. And so we have to respect other people and their boundaries. And so my next one is I have the right to change and grow. And that is something I'm so grateful for. I feel like I am learning and growing each and every day. And I hope I can say that for the rest of my life. I don't want to be that person that people talk about and say, well, you know, they're never going to change. Like, I don't want that to be me. And so I'm grateful for that opportunity. I have the right to be treated with dignity and respect. And sometimes in our lives, I've found that you have to walk away from people who don't respect you, or who don't give you that opportunity to feel good about yourself. I feel like nowadays there are so many out there pointing fingers and judging and shaming, and I just don't agree with that. And so sometimes you have to walk away if that is someone who's doing that to you. And then last but not least, I have the right to be happy. And I want to just make it clear that having the right to be something is different than deserving. I'm not a big fan of that word deserving. So I deserve to be happy. And while I do have the right to be happy, I also feel like it's a lot to do with my choices. And so choices often have consequences, both good and bad, and we need to be aware of those as well. I hope you've had a great day, and thank you again to my friend who challenged me to do this. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.